Hi, my name is Nikki, and this is my story. This is an open letter. It is addressed to the Department of Home Affairs. I really want to tell my story, and I want to get it out there. Okay, so I've written it down in 10 points, and I'm going to elaborate on it for you guys. So, when I was born, my father couldn't register me as his child. My father is white, and as you can see, I am not. And just a year before I was born, it had been illegal for a white man to have a child with a non-white woman. So in South Africa, as we know, there was something called the Immorality Act, which meant that white people couldn't have children or any kind of sexual relations with people of color. I was born in 1986, and just in 1985, the law was repealed. But as we know as South Africans, even though laws change, it doesn't mean that discrimination changes. So my father went into the Department of Home Affairs, and he went to go and do my birth certificate, and he tried to insert his details and my mommy's details into my full birth certificate, but he couldn't do that because they discriminated against him because he was having a non-white child, right? So even though it was legal for me to be born now, the Department of Home Affairs back in the Apartheid days still discriminated against my dad. They only registered my mom as my parent. So as we know, in 1994, the apartheid regime fell. My father saw this coming, so in 1993, he went back and he tried to register me as his child, but they wouldn't allow it. Okay, um, and he went again many times over the years, and at the end of this video later on I'm going to show you all the documents where he does that. Okay, in 2000 he stopped going to the Department of Home Affairs because he went time and time again and they said no. So he went rather to the Greek embassy because my father is Greek born, and he really wanted me to have dual citizenship as a South African and as a Greek. That was always his dream. So he went to the Greek embassy, and he swore an oath there, an affidavit, which I will show you, that I am his daughter. But the Greek embassy still wanted the full birth certificate with my daddy's details reflected on it, as well as my surname to change. Okay, but he just could not get the Department of Home Affairs to do it, and I went with him to Home Affairs many times over the years. He tried again in 2006, and I went with him, and they agreed to change my name, and they said they would insert his details, but they still didn't insert his details. And so then in 2010, my dad went again with me, and we were like, why are these details not inserted? And he was very sick when we went, and shortly after that, my dad died. So then I phoned the Department of Home Affairs, I phoned their hotline, and they said, it's no problem, just come in with one of his siblings and have them swear an affidavit, and we'll insert the details. And so I came in with one of his siblings, my auntie, and when we went together to the Department of Home Affairs in her town, because she lives in Heidelberg and I didn't want to make her drive all the way to Joburg, so I drove to her. The Department of Home Affairs said, no, that's not enough. We need your mother to come in and sign and have her thumbprint. So I took all the documents from my auntie and everything, and I went with my mother to do it. And still they said, no, we're not going to do it. Sorry. And so then I wrote a long letter to the Department of Home Affairs explaining the whole situation. It was a heartfelt letter. And they said, no, we're not going to do it. And then I sent more letters, and then they sent me an email. They said, we've got your letter. But at the time that I sent it, we had a reshuffle in South Africa, and Malusi Gaba, who was the head of Home Affairs, was no longer the head of Home Affairs. And so I had to wait, and I emailed, and eventually they said, sorry, we're not going to do it because your dad is dead. That's the excuse now. But my issue is that for years and years, they still didn't do it. So I would like to show you some of my documents, if you don't mind, and then I'd like to ask you some questions. So here it is. Now we know that, there we go. This is a picture of my daddy a year after he was born, when he was 1, and that's a picture of me. And I sent this to the Department of Home Affairs because I was thinking that no intelligent person would look at these pictures and go, that girl is not that man's son, because that man's daughter, because we look exactly the same, my dad and I, right? So please bear in mind that where I share this video publicly, I'm going to have to blur these documents, but should the press, or should the lawyers, or should the Department of Home Affairs want the real documents, I will be able to show them to you. Here is the first document where my dad tried to register my birth and register himself. They didn't do it. They didn't allow him to do it. Here is another document, where he even tried to lie and say that he was colored. I was like, Daddy, no one's fooled. But he's not colored. Okay, So here is just so that you know, here is my baptism certificate. I'm baptized Greek Orthodox, just like my dad. Here is a picture. This picture contains my mom, my dad, and me at my baptism a year after my birth, and that is my grandmother, my mommy's mom, just in case you're wondering, and that's me over there. I look exactly like the perfect photocopy of my mom and dad, you know? And I don't think anybody can look at that picture and say, hey, this girl's lying, that's not her parents. I think that you'd have to be incredibly stupid. That's just my opinion, right? Here's the official baptism certificate. Here, in 1993, is my father's first will and testament. My father left both my half brother and I some property, and I would argue that no man will leave that much property and stuff to people who aren't his children, right? Um, Over here, 1997, a letter from the Department of Home Affairs. You can see my mom and dad were trying to resolve this issue. Here, more documents from the year 2000. Here, as I had mentioned before, a sworn affidavit in Greek which says I am my dad's child, and I'm going to briefly read you the official translation of the sworn affidavit in Greek. It reads as follows. I'm just going to skim through it. It says Child Recognition Act in Johannesburg today, the 30th of May of the year 2000, the day of the week being Tuesday, in my office at the Consulate of the General of Greece, blah 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 blah. Appeared George Gaitanelis, son of so and so and so and so, my grandparents, right? And it has his passport number. Who requested that this act be drawn up and declared that with Norma Maria Alice Landella, my mom, daughter of my grandpa and my grandma, of course, and they say where she was born, it says, was born a child, Nikki Evangelia Elizabeth, that's me, in Johannesburg on the 9th of 9th, 1986. He declares he accepts his child according to Articles 1532 to 1534 of the blah, blah, blah. The point is, here's the document. If you want the original one, I can send it to you. The point is, but this is an official document stating that I am my dad's child. Here is another affidavit signed by my daddy in 2004. Right? Here is the rest of it. Okay? Copy of my dad's ID will definitely be blurred if this goes public. Here is another document. We went in 2006, but for some reason, which I can't even remember anymore, Department of Home Affairs didn't accept it, but it does have my dad's details. My dad and I were sent from pillar to post. It carries on. Is this more from 2006? Can anybody even remember? I believe it is. Yep. No, this is from 2010 when my dad went. We were very, very sick. We went to the Department of Home Affairs. We were trying to submit this document. We tried and tried and tried to submit, but you go from here and they go, no, 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 it's not this counter, go there. And then you wait for a few hours to go there, and then it's not that counter, and nobody seemed to know how to help us. Unfortunately, in 2010, my dad died. So when someone dies, they usually report it to the nearest family member. As you can see, that nearest family member is me. My name is right there. Particulars of the informant. I was the informant for my dad's death. No doctor is going to inform somebody unless they know that that person is the nearest relation. I was the nearest relation. You know, here you go. It's the rest of his death certificate. Here's my dad's final will and testament. Once again, he leaves some of his properties to my older brother and all of his properties and stuff to me. Now, I sent all of these documents to the Department of Home Affairs, and they still said no. Here is a letter from the executor. My dad's executor was Standard Bank. They sent me, they talk to me, and they say, this is the estate of your late father. Standard Bank acknowledges me as my father's child, but not the government of South Africa at all. Here is something from Clientele Life, where my dad made me the beneficiary of his stuff. You know, I don't believe, the reason I'm showing you all of this is I don't believe any man will leave stuff to someone who's not his daughter, especially when the girl looks exactly like a photocopy of him. But as you can see, here is my full unabridged birth certificate, and you'll see my mom's details right there at the bottom, but it has no father. The Department of Home Affairs, I believe, would rather, and they would rather believe that I was born by immaculate conception rather than believe that a white man actually had a child with a black woman. And maybe they believe that it's filthy for a white man's sperm to go into a black womb. I don't know. And that's the kind of reasoning that I would have expected from the apartheid government. But I don't expect that from the new government. And because the Constitution says that we acknowledge that there have been injustices in the past, things like this, where people go, no, 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 you can't possibly be a white man's daughter. Um, but the Constitution also says that we commit ourselves to changing that. And unfortunately, I believe that the Department of Home Affairs has not behaved constitutionally with me within the last 30 years. I am 31 years old, and I believe that one simple one simple application to the Department of Home Affairs should not take 31 years. Here is my dad's divorce certificate from his first wife. The reason I show that is because many people will say to me that no, your birth was illegitimate, because your dad, unlike your brother, my brother who happened to be white and male, just saying, who was acknowledged as his dad's child, he was legitimate, but you weren't. But I'm like, how was I supposed to be born legitimately if my dad and mom weren't legally allowed to marry? Does that make any sense to you? And frankly, it's racist to call me illegitimate because I'm legitimate. Racism is legitimate. I deserve to exist, no matter what you say at the Department of Home Affairs, and I'm going to hold you accountable, unfortunately, because what you've done to me is wrong. So here's the translation of my dad's divorce. Here is an affidavit, a sworn affidavit by my auntie, my dad's sister, saying, hello, I was there. She was there at my birth, and she was there at everything. Here's the rest of her affidavit. Can you see how many documents? A paper trail as long as your arm. Here is my auntie who swore. She's my dad's sister. She swore. And she's telling the truth. I am her niece. Um, Here is her marriage certificate, just in case anyone was wondering why my auntie and my dad don't have the same surname. She's married, but it's her. She's a sister. Um, Here is the application we had to do with my mom in order to get her thumbprint. And here is my mom's ID. And here's the rest of her application. And here, just for funsies, to end it off on a nice warm note, there's a picture of me in my daddy's arms. Right. So the reason this greatly, greatly upsets me is because it was my father's wish to be able to embrace his culture, to have dual citizenship, just like all of my cousins, just like my brother, just basically, I'm going to just say it, like the white members of my family, to be treated exactly equal to them. And my father, as you can see from how many documents I've shown you, tried for years and years and years. He was even sick when he was in the Department of Home Affairs. And the Department of Home Affairs, you let him die rather than do what's right. And you are wrong. I'm sorry, but you are wrong. You are so wrong. Now, on the website of the Department of Home Affairs, it says that the Department of Home Affairs is the custodian, the protector, and the verifier of the identity and status of citizens and other persons resident in South Africa. This makes it possible for people to realize their rights and access benefits and opportunities in both public and private domains. It is my right to practice my culture as an African queen and a Greek goddess, because that's what I am. And when my parents loved each other, for the short period that they did love each other, that was a beautiful act. It was a brave act in the midst of apartheid. I was born from a defiant love. Okay, I am not just a half breed that you can throw away and dismiss. And it is okay, or it is understandable at least. Maybe it wasn't okay, but it's understandable that the apartheid government would do that, but that the new South African government of the Rainbow Nation would refuse to fix that is despicable. And it is one of the many examples of the way in which government has just shut on what should be a rainbow nation and what should be South Africa. So, unfortunately, I tried very hard. I mean, I sent you a very long, heartfelt letter. I wasn't accusatory at all. I tried to be very polite and understanding. I said in this letter, it is very, very long. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, I think it's 5 pages long that I sent, and you still chose to ignore it, Department of Home Affairs, and you are wrong. That was completely unkind and wrong of you. Also, it's completely anti-intellectual because nobody can deny my father's child when you look at those pictures, and no man would leave that much property to a child that isn't his, you know? So here are my questions, because to me, when you refuse to acknowledge me as my father's child, remember that is part of my identity. And what you are saying to me on an official level as my government and as the so-called protector of my identity is that I am illegitimate. I am less legitimate than the white members of my family. I am less legitimate than other South Africans because I'm a half-breed. Because like I'm some kind of dirty thing, not white enough, not black enough, or whatever it is. And you're wrong. You are wrong to do that, and just because it's legal doesn't make it ethical. It is unethical for you not to have fixed this. The laziness with which you have shown the rudeness that we face from the Department of Home Affairs years after years is wrong and inexcusable. But also, I'm willing to understand that maybe you just weren't equipped to understand the complexity of these situations and what it does to the identities of South Africans. And you know what? I'm a South African citizen, and I deserve to be acknowledged as well. So my question is this: why is my father's death an excuse for you not to change it? Why is it suddenly a convenient excuse? Because for the 24 years of my life that my father was alive, you still said no to him. You still said no when he asked you to put his full details on my full birth certificate. So why is his death suddenly a legitimate excuse? Please answer that. Department of Home Affairs. Department of Home Affairs. Why did you discriminate against him for the first 24 years of my life? I said that, right? Do you, the Department of Home Affairs in the New South Africa, still believe that it is dirty for a white man to have a child with a black woman? Do you believe that? Because if you didn't believe that, why won't you just fix this? It's so simple. Why have you not discriminated against my brother who is white? Why have you not discriminated against all of my cousins who are white? Why just me? Why won't you protect my identity as your mandate says? Why do you not acknowledge this as an act of racism, as an act of injustice? Why do you not acknowledge it as an act of injustice of the past, which the Constitution of South Africa mandates you to address? When will you honor my father's dying wish? You don't need any more evidence. When will you honor it? What more evidence do you need? Can any intellectual deny that I am his daughter by looking at those pictures? Let's look at those pictures again. Just one more time. My dad as a baby, me as a baby. Can any person who calls themselves intelligent deny that I am this man's daughter? That's what I ask you. I just would like to ask that honestly. And here is a picture of my father. Study those pictures. Picture of my father, my mother, and me. Am I lying when I say I'm his child? Can any person who is intelligent deny that I'm his child? I'm just asking those honest questions, and I would like to know what the people of South Africa think. This video will also be sent to friends of mine who are members of the press. I'm still deciding where to go with this first, so tell me what you think. Just honest questions. Why have you treated my family like this when we have been nothing but honest? Would you have preferred a bribe or some other kind of underhanded crime? We went for years and years, and we tried to do this honestly and with dignity. Why is it that you reward people who do things in criminal ways and in underhanded ways, but those of us who are honest, you won't honor? Why? Why is the idea that I am born by immaculate conception more palatable than the fact that I am born by interracial love? When will you stop the stupidity? I'm sorry, I'm going to call it what it is. It's stupidity, over and above being evil. When will you give me what is my right? Please, stop being stupid. Stop being lazy. Stop being filled with hatred. Just do what's right. That's all I'm asking. Okay? Thank you very much. I did not mean to attack anybody. I just want what's right. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story.